Welcome to a year in the life of Woodborough, a snapshot of the main activities in our village early in the 21st century, a snapshot hopefully of importance to future historians and students of local history. There have been enormous changes in all rural communities and Woodborough is no exception. However, the community spirit is very much alive in our village, as we shall show in our film.
Look two, treble's going, gone.
It's New Year in the village, and January arrives to the sound of the church bells, as it has over the centuries. One of the earliest events in the social calendar is the dinner and entertainment provided for our senior citizens. All village residents over the age of 60 are eligible to attend. This evening is organised and paid for by the Village Community Association, an active group responsible for several traditional events each year. Part of the funds have been raised as a result of the hobby of one of our villagers. You probably didn't realise that Woodborough had a cinema. John Smith is our projectionist for the evening, and donations from the audience produce many hundreds of pounds each year. The audience enjoy the big film experience from genuine cinema seating.
Sit down to the start.
to Jurassic Park.
We've made living biological attractions so astounding that they'll capture the imagination of the entire planet.
The most phenomenal discovery of our time. How'd you do this? Becomes the greatest adventure of all time.
Shrove Tuesday is always observed by the ringing of the special pancake bell. Originally, all Christians were summoned to church to be shriven, confessing their sins and being forgiven and cleansed before the start of Lent. These days, the bell signifies the beginning of the traditional Pancake Day races. The chairman of the Community Association is in charge of proceedings.
Can you come down here and start at the bottom, run uphill, to avoid falling over? Thank you.
All participants receive sweets, once again paid for by the Community Association. The village school has always been supportive of the pancake races, making for a fun occasion, even when the weather is less than kind.
Go!
As spring draws to a close, so does the football season. Woodborough has fielded at least one team for well over 100 years. The final home game of the season was played on the village playing field and produced a 3-2 victory.
Well, start again, Will, start again.
The year moves on, and a familiar sight for everyone in Woodborough is Beryl Foster's plant stall outside her home on Loudham Lane. I asked Beryl to tell me about some of the changes she had seen.
There was something like 13 different growers in the village, all doing market gardening years ago, but now the last one went last year. We've two sons, one's gone out of veg and he's gone into growing bedding plants and flowers, and he makes his living out of that, and the other son has moved 10 miles away, but he is still growing market gardening foods and sells in the early morning wholesale market at Nottingham, and I believe he's the last local grower of Nottinghamshire that actually grows and sells his own veg on that market.
The village is proud of its long cricketing tradition, and this particular occasion during the season is a charity match to welcome back one of its most popular members, Simon Mellows. Simon lost a leg through cancer, and today marks his return to the Woodborough team. Tennis is also a popular activity, and the village club has a large membership of all ages. The village is fortunate to have their own courts, but ongoing maintenance costs are always a problem, and urgent fundraising is underway to help towards the cost of resurfacing. long-standing tradition at midsummer is the open-air service on the Governor's Field. This is always an opportunity for the Anglican, Methodist and Baptist faiths to come together in joint worship. The Salvation Army Band provides the musical accompaniment and the service is led by Derek Smith of the Baptist Chapel.
Good morning and welcome to our open air service. Thank you for coming along. Hope that we noticed that God's blessed us again with beautiful weather, as He usually does on this occasion. Just like to give a few words of welcome before we start. First of all, I'd like to welcome the Salvation Army Band. Thank you for coming along, gentlemen and ladies. Let's not forget the ladies. Thank you for coming along and helping us, and also marching up the main street.
Jesus' love is very wonderful. Jesus' love is very wonderful. Jesus' love is very wonderful. Oh, wonderful love. So high you can't get over it. So low you can't get under it. So wide you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love. Jesus' love is very wonderful. Jesus' love is very wonderful. Jesus' love is very wonderful. Oh, wonderful love. So high you can't get over it. So low you can't get under it. So wide you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love.
The last verse.
Jesus' love is very wonderful. Jesus' love is very wonderful. Jesus' love is very wonderful. Oh, wonderful love. So high you can't get over it. So low you can't get under it. So high you can't get around it. Oh, wonderful love.
The parish church no longer has the luxury of its own resident vicar and must share with nearby villagers their priest in charge, Michael Brock.
Running 4 churches, and especially St Swithin's, takes a great deal of organisation, preparation and tasks like administration. Computers help, they're indispensable. I have a secretary who comes in on Wednesdays, but of course church life is really about people, and we have a great team of folk at St Swithin's. And some of the key folk are the readers, people like Judith Glass, Richard Turner, David Elson. The readers, they help with the leading of the services, they help with pastoral care, they lead groups, and they do many, many tasks like the pram service that Judith does. The church wardens and also the PCC members are important members of the team who look after the life of the church. They look after the fabric of the building and also they look after the churchyard.
There are subcommittees for worship, for mission, for social events and the fabric side. I'm one of the church wardens, there are 2, and their responsibilities for the maintenance of the whole of the building and the churchyard. And twice a year we have a churchyard working party, which we're doing today. 3rd time unfortunately rained off. As you can see, it's mainly pruning, bonfiring, sweeping the paths, tidying up and general pruning all over the place to keep the whole place tidy.
One of the encouraging and inspiring things about the life of St Swithin's is the range of people who come to church. We had the young, babe in arms, right through to the elderly. And the other thing, of course, is that we have a great team of children's leaders, stars, explorers and adventurers. And one of the highlights of the church's year is the nativity that they produced just before Christmas. There are lots of sides to church life. For example, the church clock has to be wound on a regular basis. The church has to be cleaned. The flowers have to be arranged. Another team that make a very important contribution to the life of the church, the bell ringers, a very audible contribution to the life of the village. They ring, for example, on Sunday services and at weddings as well.
Yeah, they do. What is that?
If you can park up there, please.
Reducing numbers of worshippers at the Methodist Chapel means that there is a constant need for fundraising to pay their way, and this village open garden brings in much needed monies to help with upkeep of the fabric. Other activities must also be financed, as Joan Winfield explains.
Well, like all chapels and churches, we have to pay our bills. We have to keep our building in good repair, pay our electricity, lighting and so on, and pay our minister. And we think this is important, that we should do this and play a role in the life of this village. Nationally, we have ministers in hospitals, in prisons, in schools, working in city centres, in all sorts of situations, and this we help to fund. Internationally, we fund hospitals and schools, train doctors, train nurses, train teachers, agriculturalists and so on. And so many from Woodborough is in fact, and from Woodborough Chapel, is in fact going all over the world, and this is what we fund.
The third church in the village is the Baptist Chapel, and a popular event is their annual Sankey Evening, which celebrates the popularity of this American's prolific output of rousing music.
We're going to start tonight as we sing number 208. Praise Him, Jesus our blessed Redeemer, sing, O earth, His wonderful love proclaim. 208.
The loss of our only convenience store was a devastating blow to the village. The cooperative society had traded here for 50 years, but declining sales prompted them to close in 2001. The new owner allowed local tenants to trade for a while, and they were successful, but the tenancy was not allowed to extend beyond 2003, and the store closed for a second time. Since then, the building's owner has submitted an application to the local council to demolish the building and to erect private dwellings. This prompted objections from a local group of residents, and as a result of which the Environment Agency has taken full account of the flooding risk from the Woodborough Beck, which runs within a few feet of the building. What will be the outcome? Will we have a deteriorating, derelict building? Or might a more favourable compromise be reached? Only time will tell. More sad news for the community is the imminent closure of the village garage. The proprietor, Dave Hobson, is planning to retire in the next few months. How long, in fact, have you been in business here, David?
30 years, Paul. First came in April 1973. In actual fact, the premises were first altered into a garage in 1964. But before that, it was a primitive Methodist chapel.
Right. You must have many happy memories. Any unusual incidents you'd care to tell us about?
Yes, one or two. One was a customer that came to book his car in, Ted Jones, and he said, it's the second sort of service I've had here. So I said, what do you mean, Ted? He says, well, Joyce and I got married in here.
Also on the move is the popular tenant of the Four Bells.
Well, after 18 months, we feel now is the time is right to move on. We've worked extremely hard for the last 18 months to turn this pub back into what we always felt it should be, which is a community village pub. We've introduced a number of things. Our steak nights have been extremely successful, as have our theme nights. We're really disappointed to be leaving, but due to unforeseen circumstances, we feel now we have to, and we'd just like to wish the next landlord all the success and hope that everybody continues their support of the Four Bells.
We can only surmise at the reason for 3 different tenants in a short space of time.
So we're going to let the ladies show the gents how to do it.
The Woodborough Feast is an ancient tradition observed down the years. Sports Day for the village youngsters is an integral part of the weekend.
Very fair. And they're away! Hello, somebody's lost the balloon. We had somebody actually at the finish. We do. Well done. Round of applause, please, everybody. And they're off. And one thing for sure, that is the more encouragement they get, the slower they go. So please shout them on. Particularly difficult when you're being filmed, I guess. Sure we can all remember over the years. So well done. We have 1, 2 and 3. If you'd like to please give them a big round of applause. Well done, girls.
David Burgess is chairman of the Feast Sports Committee. David, this is one of the principal events in the Woodborough calendar. Why Feast Sports?
Well, it's the church feast, the Feast of St Swithin, so it's held every year at this time.
How long has this been taking place?
Well, according to Mansfield Foster, one of our oldest citizens, it's been taking place since medieval times, so we've got quite a record and a tradition to stand up to.
It naturally costs money to stage this, David. Who finances it?
It's financed by coffee mornings and whist drives, which raise money for the day, and obviously the raffle and things like that all contribute towards the costs of the event.
And they're away. Cheer them on. It's a good race.
We're doing the right-left thing,
What's right-hand should be?
Picking your right heel.
Right heel.
Oh, that's made for you, that.
That's the wrong way.
Right here.
You don't want it wrong way.
So, can you turn around that bench?
Take the straight! Ho!
Let it come back, let it come back.
I don't think this sends ever won, is it?
Right, now we have to do a turn round. Change ends.
The Monday evening immediately following the sports day is the Feast Theme Evening, an opportunity to meet up with friends and neighbours in a convivial atmosphere. I asked Manny Foster, who has organised the STEAM evening for many years, where the name Feast comes from.
Well, it's to celebrate the Feast of St Swithin at the church. That's what it's all about in the first place. The steam engine that used to come and thresh for us at the manor when we lived at the manor farm there. The steam engine used to come with the threshing machine, you see. And then, of course, when it was Woodborough Feast, as this weekend, the firm of Ashley's at Nottingham, they had 2 big showman's engines, and they weighed 14 tons each. This steam roundabout with the galloping horses on it, and they also had what they called a cakewalk, and you got on and it went this sort of thing, and a lot of them used to dance on it. These younger people, and we used to have such fun, you know, at Woodborough Feast. Yes. Oh yes, it was always looked forward to.
Woodborough hosts many charity fundraising occasions during the year. This particular open garden event is in aid of the local cancer research group. Margaret Telling is chairman of the local fundraising group. Margaret, the village have clearly supported this event very well. I bet you're very pleased, aren't you?
Yes, I think the weather's made a great difference, with it being sunny as well, and there's been a lot of people here supporting us.
Yeah, great. But this isn't the only fundraising that you do in the village, is it, Margaret?
No, we started off with the big breakfast, which is national, and we go into different people's homes. It takes place as a coffee morning, it takes place as luncheons, and this year for the first time we've had the little ones having a teddy bear's breakfast, so that's been something quite different.
Lovely. So what kind of money do you raise in a year then?
Well, last year between 11 and 12,000, which was wonderful because it just seems to have been on an increase for the last 3 years.
That's remarkable, Margaret, isn't it? In view of all the competing charities.
That's true, that's true.
Oh, well done.
Thank you.
The cat managed to keep the...
Oh yes, it
So
worked
she just-
wonders, thank you. Yeah.
you didn't find it under
No,
the settee or
and
anything?
we managed to get it.
What do you want, the ladies?
Is it tea? You have tea.
More fundraisers in the village are the Village Brownie Pack. A very impressive amount of £245 is raised from their bring and buy sale at the village hall in aid of the television Blue Peter appeal. Mid-July means that the village summer fair is upon us, held as always on the Four Bells car park and Governor's Field. This occasion enables the Community Association to raise money for their other events during the year.
My tabletop doesn't want washing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And the cider. 25.
No then. No whispering, no. No, I can't, not in front of all these. Nobody coming over here. Stop it.
Thank you.
What the future will be.
More, clearer.
Someone like you and me.
Oh, yes, I see the smile.
The village school has a long and proud tradition in Woodborough, making its places sought after by parents from far afield. Tom Lim, the former deputy head, has officially retired after 27 years service, but still returns one day a week to help where necessary.
Front row, more words, please.
Set my standards so high.
Lovely. I'm looking for eyes as well. Good. Oh, lovely. Can't you not see it?
Change my mind, someone like me.
Good, nice sound. Keep up.
Who'd have thought I'd change my mind?
Jeff Ellis has been head teacher for the last 25 years and takes justifiable pride in the school's achievements.
We currently have 211 children on roll, which is quite a lot, and that's sufficient to fill 7 classes. The most we've ever had was about 221 a couple of years ago. Numbers are expected to rise again soon. The school is very successful. We have over 50% of our children travelling in from out of Woodborough every day. We are noted really for 3 things. We're noted for the academic standards, and this year we're very fortunate we've achieved 100% success in the Key Stage 2 SATs in English, Maths and Science. We're noted also for our sporting successes, both in boys and girls soccer as well as cricket. We're also noted for our musical and drama successes. We have a school orchestra. We have about 70 children every week buying instrumental lessons, and we put on 3 or 4 concerts every year.
With autumn comes the harvest, and one of the busiest times of the year for our local farmers. Ray Robson has farmed in this picturesque part of the village for many years and is soon to retire. Glorious conditions, Ray. Do you expect the quality to be high this year?
Its quality is high. Yes, already we've had grain going away, and there's been no complaints so far. So we're quite happy with the conditions as they are.
Good. You must be one of the few local farmers in the parish, Ray. What's the reason?
Well, Woodborough has always been traditionally a market garden village, so we've a lot of small holdings in the village. Really, this Woodborough Valley where we are now has only had 3 farms on it, but there's still 2. There's still Wood Farm and Park Farm, and so really that's how it's remained.
I see. I know you've always taken a keen interest in ploughing, and not only locally.
No, I've been fortunate to travel around to various ploughing matches and at home and abroad, so I've been fortunate and lucky, I suppose.
Harvest time is always a particularly joyous occasion in the village. This display is in the Methodist chapel, and in keeping with tradition, all this produce will be auctioned the following evening.
Lord of the harvest, we meet in your name. We come to meet with you and bring our thanks for the riches that you provide.
Be thankful people come, raise the song of harvest home. All is safely gathered in, ere the winter storms begin. God our Maker doth provide.
Leave it there. You see whether we any. Actually, pretty early.
It's the day of the autumn show, the principal event in the calendar of our Horticultural Society.
Oh, sorry.
The doors open at 7:30 a.m. for staging events, and the exhibitors must leave by 9:45 a.m. when the judging commences. There is intense competition for those coveted winning red cards. Jill Hicking is one of the organisers.
Woodborough Horticultural Society has existed in its present form for a quarter of a century. We celebrated our silver anniversary last year, and it goes from strength to strength. We've still got 4 major shows a year: the spring show, the autumn show, the summer show, and our leek and onion show, which is something a bit special, I like to think. I don't know which is my favourite. Like all gardeners, I think it's wherever you are at the time.
So you got a spare 74? Yeah.
We've got a lot more runner beans than that. And the vegetables.
Autumn sees the resumption of many of our club activities. The village does not possess an outdoor bowling green, and this is perhaps why carpet bowls is so popular, continuing as it does throughout the year. Although there is no inter-club league, there is fierce competition for the annual trophies to be won. Much skill is needed in counteracting the far from level village hall floor. If carpet bowls is a bit too quiet for you, perhaps you ought to think about joining the Beaver Scouts. The colony has only been formed for a few months and has already been awarded the flag for the best, smartest and most well-behaved beaver colony at the Southall St George's Day Parade. Despite being desperately short of leaders, the village still has a Cub Scout pack to which the beavers graduate. Sadly, however, the scout troop disbanded several years ago, as leader Sarah explains.
The sad thing is that after the boys have been to Cubs, there isn't a scout group based in Woodborough because it closed down a couple of years ago, and the only place the boys can go is Calverton, Burton Joyce or Southall. So we are looking for a new leader if anybody is interested in helping out.
The Women's Institute has long since shed its staid image. Here one of the two Woodborough WI darts teams show their competitive skills in the Inter-WI League against local rivals Oxton. Many of the away matches are still played in pubs, although the village team moved their home venue from the Four Bells a few years ago. It might come as a surprise to many to learn that our WI also has an excellent whist team and at county level has provided ladies for golf, archery and croquet. The Art Club meets weekly in the Village Institute and is a popular society, producing work to a high standard. Members exhibit their work, often for sale, at the annual summer fair. Beginners are welcome and tuition is provided, although a large number of the members have been attending for many years.
Oh yes, well, this is where they all come from.
Yes, you know, when I was doing practicing about these, combine the two,
We can only hope to show a limited number of Woodborough's many activities and to demonstrate what a busy and diverse village it is. Our camera was out on a typical Thursday evening, starting first at the Institute, where the local history group are taking part in a WEA course. Tonight's topic is property deeds.
One type of documentary source which does actually frighten some people, can be a bit apprehensive, oh dear, I don't know how to look at these, and that is property deeds. Each shown pairs. Pair are shown.
A few yards down the road, in the chapel schoolroom, we find the ever-popular flower arranging group. So many ladies enjoy this activity that two classes are held weekly to meet the demand.
You are still going?
Yes, but it's not tech free.
Who else has got floating candles?
We. We've got some here without a wick. That's different. He says don't like them and leaves them the tenders.
From this air of tranquility, we now move off to the village hall. The youth club meets weekly, and it's a great way for the youngsters to let off steam for a couple of hours in a safe environment. Our final destination on this Thursday night is the Leisure Centre in Calverton, where the Woodborough Badminton Club hold their weekly club night. This is a long-established group and puts out a number of teams in the Notts Leagues. The village has so many societies and organisations, and with so much taking place, all activities depend on advance notice.
Give me a date. Saturday, 9th of October.
The Woodborough newsletter is indispensable. Unlike most villages, it does not depend on or allow commercial advertisements, and is produced for St Swithin's PCC and funded by them, although there is a small subscription. Naturally, prominence is given to the notices and services of all three churches, but all village societies are encouraged to report their events and publicise their activities. David Bagley has undertaken the role of editor for more than 20 years. The task of Juliet Moss is then to sort batches of newsletters for each road. A team of volunteer distributors then deliver these to around 550 households by the 1st of each month.
Where it has been positioned.
Woodborough has its own parish council, and this operates as a third tier of local government, being responsible for allocating the additional levy imposed with the community tax.
I am John Harlow, I'm Chairman of Woodborough Parish Council. I've lived in the village for 37 years and have been on the Parish Council for 7 years and Chairman for the last 4.5 years. The Chairman is elected in May each year by the councillors and no one else wants the job. We should have 11 councillors but have 2 vacancies at present. Elections take place every 4 years, but we've not had a ballot for a long time as only 11 or less put their names forward. This may be a sign that we're doing a wonderful job, but perhaps people are too busy today to volunteer. We meet once a month normally. We do not have committee meetings or committees, but one member looks after each area for which we are responsible. The council tries to keep costs down, and the councillors form working parties to undertake simple works rather than employ tradesmen. We are non-political. None of the councillors are paid any allowances.
The newsagents now remain as the only retailer in the village, and so it's an essential part of the community. They try to stock as far as possible the basic necessities.
Have you had your book? Yes. Oh, right.
In view of the fact that the nearest health centre is in the next village, the shop offers a valuable collection facility for doctors' prescriptions.
A chap here the other day who said his wife wasn't talking to him because it was their 49 on the Thursday and he hadn't remembered till Saturday.
The post office is located within the newsagents, and it would be a severe blow to the village if this facility was to be withdrawn. The postmaster is Alan Bates.
They scheduled about 3,500 offices are due to close within the next 2 to 3 years. Therefore, there's a village office, which I can assure you, Woodborough supports it very, very well. And the customers are brilliant, they're very good indeed. But it still needs to be used and used as regular as possible. And in the future, a lot more services will come on the counters. As we're already aware, banks are coming on the counters. We've got 3 major banks on. We're hoping not too distant future to get at least 1 more on, and that will help to sustain the post office and sustain the village, which is more important. It's not so much the office, but keeping office in the village, which sustains the village. And so at the end of the day, I'm very grateful for everybody within the village, the very supporters, and I just hope they carry on. And please, users, do not lose us.
Local employment is helped by the Royal Mail maintaining a sorting office in the village. It's December, and with Christmas just around the corner, there are many traditional events to look forward to. One of the earliest is the annual village craft market. It wouldn't be the festive season without the annual visit of the Salvation Army Band, delighting the village with seasonal music. It's now only just over a week to Christmas, and time for the Community Association's party for all the village children.
Daniel, I think you was the last one there, darling. Wave your hand with the arm.
With just a couple of days left before the end of the term, it's the turn of the little ones at the local school to tell the age-old story with a new twist. At long last, it's Christmas Eve, the occasion for carol singers to tour the village and Santa to distribute fruit to young and old alike. By tradition, we start at the local residential home where a warming sherry is always appreciated.
Dashing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, o'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to laugh and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Stop!
All together now.
We bring to you and your king. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Happy Christmas, everybody.
Anybody there?
The evening ends on the Governor's Field by the lit beacon and a little something to keep the cold at bay.
crisp and even, brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel. Then a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Bring me flesh and bring me wine, bring me pine logs hither. Thou and I will see him die, when we bear them thither. Page and monarch, forth they went together. Through the rude wind's wild lament, and the bitter weather. In his master's steps he trod, when the snow lay tinted.
Circle left, go. Circle right.
It's New Year's Eve, and as the year draws to a close, the Woodborough Ladies Group hold a ceilidh for their members and friends, an energetic way to see in the new year. Meanwhile, at the other end of the village, more revellers wait for 12 o'clock at the Nag's Head.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, 2004 approaches.
So what does the future hold for Woodborough? Inevitably there will be changes. During the course of this filming, we have seen the closure of the village garage and the local nursing home, and whether the convenience store will ever reopen is debatable. There are concerns too over the future of our local bus service. But certain things stay the same. Our local traditions remain, and the pleasure of country living. So we hope we have shown you the great vitality and tremendous community spirit which exists in Woodborough, and will ensure that future generations enjoy living in this wonderful village.